In the span of just 5 years, MrBeast has plummeted from YouTube's most celebrated icon to one of its most polarizing figures. A man who was once the very symbol of generosity now finds himself ensnared in allegations of manipulation, exploitation, and staggering corporate greed. He restored sight to 1,000 people, fed entire towns, and gave away fortunes that would shame most charities. But today, his name is attached to lawsuits. It's a narrative built from sworn employee testimonies and damning headlines that challenge the very core of his empire, because hidden behind the flawless thumbnails and epic giveaways lurks a question that nobody can definitively answer. Is MrBeast the digital age's greatest philanthropist or its most masterful and calculated operator? It all started with Jimmy Donaldson, the boy who would become MrBeast, uploading his first video at only 13 years old, a primitive Minecraft clip titled "Worst Minecraft Saw Trap Ever." Back in 2012, it was crude and attracted almost no views, but it was the quiet genesis of a YouTube dynasty. Fast forward 1 decade later. By July of 2022, he'd amassed 100 million subscribers after soaring past 50 million in early 2021, and by late 2023, he'd breached 200 million. In mid-2024, he even toppled T-Series, seizing the throne as the most subscribed channel on the planet. The formula seemed almost insultingly simple: give away unbelievable sums of money, capture the raw, visceral human reactions on camera, and then let the algorithm handle the rest. In the early days, he gathered a small crew of childhood friends in Greenville, North Carolina, and together they burned the midnight oil, editing and shooting endlessly. It was a chaotic but inseparable unit. A brotherhood chasing a unified vision of making videos that didn't just entertain, but actually helped real people. For the longest time, the press adored him, branding him YouTube's Robin Hood, and almost all of us believed that story without question. We clicked, we celebrated, and we subscribed. The metrics went stratospheric: 50 million, 100 million, 200 million. And this was no longer merely about viewership. He launched Beast Philanthropy, which funded colossal charity initiatives. Food drives worth tens of millions of dollars, the rebuilding of schools, and the digging of wells all across Africa. It truly felt like a new dawn for philanthropy, fueled not by dusty billionaires but by viral clicks. Yet, as the empire expanded to unimaginable proportions, the pressure, the demands of production, and the expectations grew right along with it. And before long, the fractures in that picture-perfect image started to emerge. Then came the first major crisis, as old posts and video clips began to reappear. They showed Jimmy deploying homophobic slurs and other toxic rhetoric from his youth. The headlines were instantaneous, and they clashed violently with the nicest guy on YouTube image he had so carefully constructed. Back in 2018, when this first surfaced, he more or less waved it away. But years later, in 2024, he released a public statement admitting he had used inappropriate language as a teenager, insisting he had learned from his mistakes. No major brand sponsorships were lost, and his channel's growth simply accelerated. But the incident left an undeniable scar. Critics labeled the response as overly rehearsed and coldly strategic, while his defenders insisted that people are capable of genuine change. They argued his more recent conduct was proof of his personal growth. Regardless, that controversy carved out the exact blueprint for how all future crises would be managed. Whether the allegations were years old or brand new, the pattern was always the same: a swift public relations response followed by the unrelenting churn of the content machine. By 2021, the Jimmy Donaldson empire was no longer a small, passionate team. It had metastasized into a full-scale corporation, with dozens of young employees operating out of its Greenville, North Carolina production compound. These were bright-eyed 20-somethings, eager to grind, hoping to add some glitter to their resumes or perhaps seize their own moment of internet stardom. But soon, the veneer began to crack. A bombshell report in 2024 exposed disturbing accounts from former editors and production assistants. The atmosphere wasn't a family, it was a high-pressure, results-driven factory. Testimonies painted a grim picture of mandatory weekend shoots that dragged into the dead of night, and team chat logs used to humiliate anyone who clocked out before 3 a.m. The non-disclosure agreements were described as so restrictive they felt less like legal protections and more like weapons. One producer even claimed she was let go after asking for a single Saturday off for her grandmother's funeral. The company fiercely denied it was retaliation, attributing the termination to performance issues instead. It was an incredibly damaging accusation. It looked even worse when contrasted with the carefully crafted public image. During the very same week that an internal memo about the toxic workplace culture was leaked, a new video was released. I Gave People Free Houses premiered, and its viewership numbers exploded. It was a chilling confirmation that as long as the spectacle is grand enough, the controversy hardly matters. The clicks will come anyway. This stark contrast between public acts of extreme generosity and private accounts of internal strain would become the central, haunting theme of the MrBeast saga. A later investigation, commissioned by the company in 2024, uncovered isolated cases of workplace harassment and misconduct, which led to the termination of roughly 5 to 10 employees, though it cleared the brand of the most severe allegations. Allegations like criminal misconduct were not substantiated. This confirmed that while there were very real problems, the most explosive claims couldn't be proven. Still, the underlying pressure cooker environment had clearly exacted a heavy price. You remember Netflix's Squid Game, right? That 9-episode masterclass on the horrors of capitalism? A story about class warfare and the desperate, brutal lengths people will go to when their backs are against the wall. Well, Jimmy's take on it landed in November of 2021. It was different. It was a singular, high-budget reenactment where 456 real contestants competed for $456,000. The sets were almost perfect replicas from the show. The editing was pure, chaotic YouTube energy, and thankfully, no one was actually eliminated permanently, but the critics descended almost instantly. He managed to turn anti-capitalist satire into the ultimate capitalist product. Read one viral comment that perfectly captured the backlash. Many viewers, particularly those from South Korea, slammed it as profoundly tone-deaf, claiming it gutted the original's profound message, transforming a critique of class warfare into a viral spectacle, while the original Squid Game had laid bare the savagery of a broken system, which compels the impoverished to tear one another apart for a chance at survival. MrBeast's polished, high-budget version felt different. To many, it seemed like a glorification of that very system he defended the venture, insisting it was more than just a show, with over $1.5 million in cash, prizes, and charitable funds being distributed. He presented it as an inventive contest that also provided real help, and by the numbers, he was technically correct. The video's success was astronomical, rocketing past 300 million views and cementing itself as one of the most viewed productions in YouTube history. But this time, the blowback wasn't just digital chatter. Legitimate news outlets began to link the term exploitation directly to the MrBeast brand. The discussion shifted from whether his intentions were noble to whether good intentions even matter when a story's core message is completely inverted. Even Squid Game's own creator, Hwang Dong-hyuk, eventually offered his verdict, stating he didn't feel MrBeast had plagiarized his work. Yet he conceded that repackaging the concept for views and ad money was, with deep irony, perfectly aligned with the capitalist dystopia shown in Squid Game. Then, in January 2023, a video dropped that set the internet ablaze. It ignited one of the most intense ethical firestorms of MrBeast's career. 1,000 blind people see for the first time a title and thumbnail engineered for maximum emotional impact. It featured an elderly woman in tears as bandages were removed, her vision sharpening. Jimmy had footed the bill for cataract surgeries for 1,000 individuals. The cost was around $600,000, and on the surface, it appeared to be an unequivocal act of kindness. But the internet immediately fractured into two camps. While some hailed it as a triumph of modern-day charity, others viewed it as something far more sinister, with medical experts and disability advocates condemning the video. They labeled it inspiration porn, asserting that it converted authentic human hardship into a monetized performance for public consumption. The video, they argued, dangerously simplified the problem by praising a single benefactor's charity instead of asking why such a life-altering procedure is not universally accessible. As is his custom, Jimmy's reply was swift. He declared that he would finance more cataract operations across several other nations. This expanded the initiative beyond a single video, a tangible and positive response. Yet the wave of criticism refused to fade. The Independent, among other publications, published headlines that posed a difficult question. Do good deeds become tainted when they are captured on camera for financial gain? This one video thrust a much larger debate into the public consciousness. Where do we draw the line between philanthropy and content? Between genuine aid and exploiting suffering for a clickable thumbnail? MrBeast had forged an empire built on generosity. But now, for the very first time, the public was questioning the motivation behind the giving and asking who was the ultimate beneficiary. But as the cameras kept rolling, March of 2023 delivered another scandal, this time centered not on philanthropy, but on chocolate. MrBeast's snack brand Feastables was flying off Walmart's shelves until a wave of TikToks from employees and shoppers revealed a grim reality. They showcased damaged and even moldy chocolate bars on store shelves, a disastrous image for a brand that preached clean ingredients and superior quality. However, Jimmy's response ignited an even bigger firestorm. Rather than issue a recall or vow for stricter quality control, he did the unthinkable. He took to Twitter and essentially asked his fans to perform free labor, encouraging them to go to Walmart, tidy up his product displays, and post pictures of their work. There was no pay, no contract, just a call to action and a request for a photo. The internet absolutely erupted, with Forbes and Business Insider running major headlines. They labeled it retail fan baiting, and labor experts swiftly condemned it as soliciting unpaid work for a multi-million-dollar corporation. Critics accused him of exploiting a young, impressionable fan base, while his supporters insisted it was merely community enthusiasm being blown out of proportion. Within 48 hours, the tweet vanished, but the screenshots were forever. All the while, Feastables kept selling out. The brand was reportedly clearing millions of dollars in monthly revenue, but the public's perception suffered a major blow as free labor became a running joke tied to his name. The entire episode highlighted a harsh truth. When an influencer has that level of power, even a seemingly playful request can cross the dark line into exploitation. It served as a massive wake-up call that fan enthusiasm doesn't replace ethics, and that even a feel-good brand can crumble when it forgets where the boundaries lie. The summer of 2024 brought a controversy so personal and painful, it struck at the very core of the MrBeast team itself. Ava Tyson, formerly known as Chris Tyson, one of Jimmy's closest friends and a key collaborator, found herself at the center of an absolute firestorm. It began after old screenshots surfaced online alleging deeply inappropriate messages sent years before. The accusations claimed she had corresponded with minors. Social media instantly detonated. Making matters infinitely more complex, Ava had only recently come out as transgender, causing the situation to spiral far beyond the original claims. Transphobic trolls immediately weaponized her transition to fuel the outrage with a flood of misinformation, turning the conversation around the allegations toxic overnight. Rather than endure a drawn-out public battle, Ava announced she would step back from the MrBeast brand, saying she wanted to protect it and the people she cared about. Jimmy released a short, almost corporate-sounding statement, thanking her for her years of dedication, but for many, the tone felt hollow and distant. Some fans viewed it as the world's biggest YouTuber choosing damage control over loyalty, while others argued that Ava's decision to leave was hers and hers alone, a calculated move to insulate her family and her own stability from the ensuing firestorm. But whatever the motive, it only hardened the public's view that the MrBeast empire had become just as walled off and image-obsessed as any faceless corporation. The man who forged his brand on altruism and human connection was now shackled by the same sterile PR logic he once seemed to defy. Several months later, an independent investigation, bankrolled by MrBeast's own organization, declared they found no concrete evidence of predatory grooming or sexual misconduct. It did, however, admit to finding what it called isolated instances of a hostile work environment and improper conduct, which led to a handful of quiet terminations while publicly absolving Ava. And yet, the report only amplified a truth that was becoming impossible to deny. Behind the shining philanthropic kingdom was a machine under immense strain, struggling to reconcile friendship, reputation, and the crushing demands of global celebrity. In the world of fast food, 2020 unleashed the explosion of the so-called ghost kitchen phenomenon. These were delivery-only brands operating from the kitchens of existing restaurants, and MrBeast dove headfirst into the trend with MrBeast Burger, partnering with a company called Virtual Dining Concepts. The blueprint was to sell his branded burgers exclusively through delivery services. The model appeared flawless, hundreds of locations materializing overnight, minimal investment, and the sheer force of his name to drive an avalanche of orders. At first, the gambit paid off. The launch day demand overwhelmed the ordering apps, sparking thousands upon thousands of deliveries all across the United States. But the illusion of quality shattered almost instantly. Social media platforms were flooded with a tidal wave of complaints, showcasing damning photos of undercooked meat and ice-cold fries. Missing ingredients and orders arriving in generic, unbranded packaging became the norm, with countless customers decrying the food as virtually inedible. By mid-2023, Jimmy claimed he'd seen enough. In July of 2023, he filed a lawsuit against Virtual Dining Concepts, alleging they were serving inedible garbage with his face on it, and accusing them of prioritizing reckless expansion over the most basic standards of quality. He also claimed he was never paid what he was owed, and that the company had secretly filed for MrBeast trademarks for themselves, without his permission. VDC struck back almost immediately, unleashing a staggering $100 million countersuit that accused Donaldson of a flagrant breach of contract, public defamation, and employing intimidation tactics to sabotage the partnership. The legal skirmish became a vicious public spectacle, with both sides trading blows through their attorneys and the press. And while the legal battle continues to rage, the stain on the brand is already permanent. MrBeast Burger has become the ultimate cautionary tale of an influencer's fast food venture gone catastrophically wrong, where the hype and velocity of the launch completely eclipsed any semblance of quality. This story signaled a definitive turning point for Jimmy's kingdom, serving as a brutal reminder that not every viral concept can be molded into a legitimate business, especially when the very product that carries your name fundamentally betrays your reputation. But even as this venture burned, the ambition of MrBeast's content was escalating to an entirely new stratosphere with Beast Games. Propped up by the financial might of Amazon Prime Video, the series was marketed as a collision of Squid Game and Survivor, but an ethical one. It was, by far, his most colossal undertaking ever. It was a spectacle of epic proportions, 5,000 hopefuls, a staggering $5 million grand prize, and a solemn vow to deliver the grandest, safest, and most electrifying contest YouTube had ever witnessed. But beneath the glittering surface, the picture-perfect narrative began to crumble. By September 2024, a class action lawsuit was officially filed against MrBeast's production empire. The suit also targeted Amazon, laying out damning allegations of unsafe and exploitative conditions during the shoot, with contestants claiming they were forced to endure grueling hours without proper food, sleep, or even basic medical access, and that crucial safety protocols were recklessly slashed simply to cut costs. The lawsuit was filled with harrowing accounts from contestants. Stories emerged of participants collapsing from sheer exhaustion, suffering from injuries that went completely ignored, and being relentlessly pressured to keep competing despite facing severe health crises. Moreover, several female participants alleged the set was a toxic and hostile environment, detailing instances of improper conduct and a glaring absence of responsible oversight. Taken together, the legal filings painted a disturbing portrait of a production where the relentless pursuit of content tragically overshadowed basic human decency. Jimmy's legal team, however, forcefully denied the allegations. They insisted that every safety measure not only met but surpassed industry standards, and that many contestants had lauded the experience as being once in a lifetime. Amazon, meanwhile, has maintained a conspicuous silence, though damning internal emails now leaked to the public reportedly reveal executives voicing serious concerns behind closed doors. One executive allegedly questioned, "Are we certain we want to stand behind this? Should this case proceed to trial, it is poised to become the most high-profile legal showdown ever, tied to a creator-led venture." This lawsuit does more than just scrutinize the ethics of MrBeast's operation. It challenges the entire influencer economy's obsession with gargantuan scale. It's an economy built on spectacle and ever higher viral stakes. The $5 million prize was supposed to make history for all the right reasons, but instead, it threatens to define the very breaking point where ambition devolves into recklessness. Late 2024 then delivered a brutal 1-2 punch of bad press for MrBeast. First on the docket was Lunchly, a prepackaged snack line that Jimmy co-founded with fellow internet titans Logan Paul and KSI. Marketed as a healthier, high-protein alternative to Lunchables, the brand's launch was a blockbuster event, with products appearing on store shelves all across the nation. With MrBeast's face and a storm of fanfare plastered all over social media, the hype soured within weeks as TikTok became inundated with stomach-churning clips of green, fuzzy cheese and moldy ingredients. One of the most damning pieces of evidence came from baking YouTuber Rosanna Pansino, who unboxed her pizza kit on camera only to reveal visible mold. Despite it being well before its expiration date, her video exploded, racking up millions of views and becoming the unofficial face of the scandal. And the founder's subsequent responses did very little to extinguish the flames. Logan Paul flippantly joked it away, KSI was seen laughing at the public's outrage, and it was left to Jimmy to finally step forward with a more serious damage control statement. He explained that Lunchly products were fully inspected and shipped fresh, subtly implying the problem likely stemmed from issues with storage or transport something. He suggested that was out of their hands. He tried to pass the blame to mishandling at distribution centers or stores, even suggesting that mold issues are just a common problem with similar refrigerated snack brands. But that flimsy defense did little to quell the inferno of backlash, and before that fire could even smolder, another one had already been ignited. Jimmy unleashed one of his most divisive uploads to date, asking, "Would you risk dying for $500,000? A video that showcased contestants enduring extreme stunts. We're talking simulated plane dives, explosions, and fire-based obstacle courses, all for a shot at a $500,000 prize, horrifying aviation and stunt professionals." Experts were quick to condemn the project as reckless and irresponsible, while parent advocacy groups labeled it trauma content, making it seem to many that Jimmy was chasing spectacle at any human cost. Critics quickly started connecting the dots, weaving the unsafe food and the dangerous stunts into a single, disturbing narrative. The story being told was that MrBeast's content machine had finally gone off the rails. Jimmy defended the production, claiming every stunt was coordinated by professional teams, and that all FAA permits and safety checks were completed. The FAA, however, later confirmed only that the proper paperwork was filed, stopping short of actually endorsing how the shoot was managed. By the end of the year, Lunchly's momentum had completely vanished. Retail partners began quietly pausing shipments, and the debate over the stunts continued to rage. Taken together, the two controversies cemented a growing fear that MrBeast was walking a razor's edge between innovation and outright irresponsibility. Philanthropy versus profit, human risk versus viral reward. Understanding MrBeast is not just about his videos, it's about dissecting the very engine that powers his empire. His operation functions more like a corporate ecosystem than a simple creator channel, where revenue from his main YouTube empire is used to fund Beast Philanthropy. This non-profit arm, launched in 2021, then purchases food for shelters and funds surgeries, documenting the entire process for the cameras. Those very videos then rake in ad revenue and sponsorships, which are funneled right back into the machine for new projects, a perfectly self-sustaining loop. It's a system that seemingly prints both cash and good deeds, but people who've worked behind the scenes describe a relentless, never-ending production grind. The pressure to constantly top the last video, to make every act of generosity more spectacular than the last, has led to widespread reports of exhaustion and burnout across his growing team. As for the money trail, Beast Philanthropy is technically a legitimate, registered 501c3 non-profit. It's a non-profit that files its public financial reports like any other charity, and those filings do indeed show millions of dollars going toward meals, disaster relief, and medical care. However, a significant portion of the total revenue that passes through the MrBeast brand is plowed right back into content creation. We're talking massive set builds, staffing, logistics, and post-production. To be clear, watchdog groups have not yet accused the charity of any official wrongdoing, but observers online are raising a far more philosophical question than a legal one. Where does philanthropy end and the marketing machine begin? The organization's good deeds are undeniable. And yet, every act of compassion is also primetime content. Every donation is also a crucial story beat. It's a tangled web where good intentions and raw ambition are dangerously intertwined. A world where doing good has become both the sacred mission and the cutthroat business model. So why must every stunt, every giveaway, every act of charity be more grandiose than the last? What fuels this relentless escalation? Jimmy himself offered a chilling clue in an interview with Time, admitting that he started to feel a profound numbness towards his own success. He says he only truly feels alive when the numbers he's manipulating are astronomical. Psychologists might diagnose this as an achievement addiction. A perpetual need for a greater high, a more intense stimulation just to feel fulfilled. Fans, perhaps more generously, would call it ambition. But either way, that insatiable hunger for scale reveals so much about the MrBeast phenomenon, and why apology videos seem to arrive much faster than any real structural change. Because that upload schedule is not just a schedule, it's the engine of the business. Miss 1 week, and the algorithm punishes you, sponsors get skittish, and the audience's attention drifts. And when you are running an empire that industry insiders estimate churns hundreds of millions of dollars a year, there is no pause button. There is only forward momentum. Every new video must be bigger, every challenge more grueling, every act of generosity more spectacular than the one that came before it. It is a self-perpetuating cycle, an entire kingdom built on the gospel of escalation. Once you are inside that machine, stopping isn't just failure, it is complete collapse. The pressure to innovate and to outperform yourself ceases to be creative. It becomes existential. If you simply scroll through the comments section of any MrBeast video, or search his name alongside any one of these controversies, you will see the same, almost tribal battle lines drawn. On one side, you have the loyal fans. He is literally curing blindness. They will proclaim, pointing to the indisputable good that he has accomplished. They see the hospitals that have been funded, they see the meals that were delivered, the smiles on faces that would have otherwise remained in the shadows. To them, his intentions are unimpeachable. A perfect blend of entertainment and altruism that is genuinely improving the world. Then, on the other side of the divide, there are the critics. He is monetizing human suffering, they will argue, insisting that the spectacle completely overshadows the sincerity, that generosity turns into exploitation the moment it's edited for content. They don't question the results, but they fiercely question the motives and the very power dynamics that allow it all to happen. The difficult truth is, both sides are right. The cataract surgeries were real, restoring sight to 1,000 people. And yes, those patients gave their full consent to appear on camera. Contestants did indeed sign up for the Beast Games voluntarily, fully aware of the potential risks and the life-changing rewards. And yet, and now, some of those very same contestants are launching lawsuits, alleging mistreatment and neglect, bringing us to the ethical core of the MrBeast saga. It all boils down to one fundamental question. Does good intent excuse a damaging impact? Can altruism truly survive when it's monetized and sold as content? The verdict on that seems to change with every shocking headline, every new scandal, every polished upload. Yet, the one undeniable truth is that the MrBeast empire just keeps on growing. It flourishes not despite the controversies, but seemingly because of them, as the sheer magnitude of his televised generosity consistently overwhelms the murky ethical waters swirling beneath. It's only when the legal challenges emerge, when the contracts and court documents rip the curtain away, that we finally see just how razor-thin the line is between philanthropy and profit. And, as we all know, YouTube's dark history has a tendency to repeat itself. The pattern is almost a script by now. A charismatic, seemingly down-to-earth creator skyrockets to fame, their audience becomes a devoted army, and then the exposé drops. A carefully crafted apology follows, a loyal core of fans remains, the media labels them toxic, and yet, somehow, the view count mysteriously never plummets. It's a tale as old as the platform, but with MrBeast, the difference isn't merely one of degree, it's one of sheer scale. This isn't some vlogger renting a mansion in Los Angeles, filming videos in his bedroom. MrBeast is a bona fide empire, a fully integrated media machine with hundreds on the payroll. He commands global partnerships and wields production budgets that would make television studios envious. His team even includes on-set medical staff for emergencies, professional pilots for his elaborate stunts, a legal team on permanent retainer for the constant litigation, and even highly specialized technicians, engineering, custom props, and equipment for every single video. This is no longer just about Jimmy Donaldson. It's a full-blown corporation with complex layers of management, risk, and corporate accountability. And that single fact changes the entire game. When faith in the MrBeast brand begins to crack, it's not merely the subscriber count that takes a hit. It's livelihoods, contracts, multi-million-dollar sponsorships, and the entire production pipeline that all depend on this massive machine continuing to run without a single hitch.